Jesse, thanks for being with us. Can you tell us a bit about what's happening with hunger in Nunavut?
Sure. So for my article, I spoke with a number of experts over the last couple of weeks in a number of different communities who were sounding the alarm about what everybody was calling a hunger crisis and saying that across Nunavut, people are just simply struggling to keep their families fed. Now, a few weeks back in late September, there was a press conference at a place in Iqaluit called I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong here, but Kajuktervik Community Food Center. The director there, Joseph Murdoch Flowers, talked about how in the preceding week there had been a single day in which 8% of the entire population of Iqaluit had come to eat and get a hot lunch there. But the problem is that's no means specific to Iqaluit. I spoke with an elder in Pond Inlet named Rhoda Katsuk, who talked about the extent of the hunger emergency in her own community. And I also spoke with a University of Toronto professor, Tracy Galloway, who works on nutrition in the north and hunger. And she said that she had been in the Western Arctic in February, and she said it was the worst hunger crisis that she had ever seen when she visited there.
Now, there's been a change in funding from Indigenous Services Canada. Can you tell us a bit about what's happened there?
Right. And immediately after that time that she was discussing in February, at the end of March, Indigenous Services ended what was known as the Hamlet Food Voucher Program. And that was a temporary measure that was giving families $500 per month per child for food, and then an additional $250 per month per child under 4 for diapers. And it was part of the Inuit Child First Initiative, which is the Inuit version of Jordan's Principle. And at the end of March, the federal government announced they were going to be extending the initiative for another year, but they were not continuing the Hamlet Food Voucher Program. And what that meant was that suddenly a lot of people across Nunavut lost thousands of dollars with which they'd been using to feed and clothe their children more or less overnight. Now, Indigenous Services has said this was never supposed to be a permanent program, but unfortunately advocates across Nunavut have said that in its absence, there's just simply been nothing to pick up the slack.
Right. The extreme cost of groceries in the Inuit Nunavut has been an issue for many years, but there seems to be abundant wildlife in the territory that people can hunt. Why aren't more Inuit turning to hunting for food sovereignty?
Well, and everybody that I spoke to talked about how much Inuit would love to be on the land hunting country food. You know, being able to eat seal and caribou and whale and fish. This stuff is it's local, it's available, it's also extremely healthy, it's nourishing, it's comforting, it brings people together with their families and their communities and connects them with their ancestral traditions. The only problem is it's extremely expensive to hunt in Nunavut, and that makes it basically impossible for many Inuit to access country food. You know, we start with the cost of firearms and cartridges, which is expensive on its own, but then you have to think about vehicles, ski-doos, four-wheelers, boats, and outboard motors are much more expensive than they are in the south, and that's to say nothing of the cost of gasoline. So there's no question a high percentage of Inuit would love to be on the land hunting country food. It's just that it's so hard for so many people to afford.
So what is the federal government doing? How are they responding?
It's hard to say exactly what the federal government is doing. I tried to get an interview with Indigenous Services, and they responded. They were only going to respond to questions that I sent by email. So I sent them some questions, and they really took pains not to respond to my questions directly. They focused their response on saying that short-term programs like the Inuit Child First Initiative were not enough on their own, and that they were working on long-term approaches. But I specifically asked them to respond to experts saying that there is a hunger crisis ongoing in Nunavut, and they really made an effort not to discuss the issue of hunger, and they would not answer a yes or no question about whether or not there was a hunger crisis ongoing, and that's basically where we left it.
Well, important reporting there, Jesse. Appreciate you taking some time for us here to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Dennis.